So it's 2025 and of course you want to have a strong year for your ecom brand. But the big question is, how do I grow my e-commerce brand sustainably and profitably this year? If you've seen any of my other videos, you will know that having a consistent method of new customer acquisition is something I talk about very, very often. And in 2025, this is no different. And when it comes to new customer acquisition, what we like to do at my agency when we work with e-commerce brands is we like to focus on paid ads. And when it comes to paid ads, we like to focus on two main ad platforms, which just allow us to give each one the attention they need in order for us to really crack those two ad platforms. And for us, that's usually Meta and Google. And in this video, what I want to focus on is Meta ads, and specifically how to get Meta ads to work through ad creative. Because 2024, it was the year of ad creative, right? If you had been on Twitter, YouTube, anywhere, you would have seen that the ad creative is the key part of making Meta ads work for e-commerce. And that is going to be the same thing in 2025. And if anything, it's going to be even more important. So in this video, let's talk about ad creative in 2025 and just understand what e-commerce brands will need to do with their ad creative in order to have a successful year through Meta ads. So the first thing I want to touch on is creative volume. So this is the amount of creative that you're producing. And what we like to do is we like to look at creative volume in line with how much we're spending on ads. And I've actually got some rough benchmarks that we use at my agency here. Just going to riff these off. And again, these are rough benchmarks, so they're not hard and fast rules, but if you're spending anywhere up to $1,000 per day, you need to be producing 5 creative concepts per week. And each concept has about 2 to 3 variations, sometimes more. But a variation is a slight tweak. Maybe it's a different hook, maybe it's a different headline of that creative. If you're spending $1,000 to $2,000 per day on Meta, you need to be producing 6 to 7 creative concepts per week. Then if you're spending $2,000 to $4,000 per day, you need to be producing 8 to 10 creative concepts per week. Then if you're spending between $4,000 and $6,000 per day, you need to be producing 11 to 12 creative concepts per week. And finally, if you're spending above $6,000 per day, you need to be producing more than 12 creative concepts per week, okay? And volume is just one part of the creative game, right? Of course, you can increase your volume, but you need quality as well. And what I mean by quality is that you need to be able to also have a higher win rate of the creatives that you're producing. What that means is that for every 10 creatives you produce, now all of a sudden the amount that turn into winners is higher. And the way that we do this at my agency is we do something called iterations. And what iterations are is basically just a variation, a improvement, a next step on an existing ad creative that you have data on, okay? So let's say you tested a batch of ad creatives and maybe a few of them showed strong signs of working really well. Now you take those ad creatives and you create iterations of them, right? What can you change and improve to improve the performance on the next creative variation that you do, okay? So that is a big part of being able to improve the quality while you're also improving and increasing the volume. I also must mention that creative is not the only factor that will allow you to be successful on Meta ads. Of course, you have things like the offer, the conversion rate, the average order value, things like your media buying structure. And I have a bunch of other videos on my channel that go through deeper into all of those areas. We're not going to go into that today. I want to keep this video purely focused on ad creative. So let's dive into the different ad creative styles, concepts that you will want to consider this year. So first up, we have the king of creative, the UGC, right? User-generated content. Now, again, if you were consuming any content last year related to e-commerce and Facebook ads and Meta ads, you will have heard of UGC, right? UGC was a buzzword in 2024, right? For the want of a better word, but it works and it is important. So why should you do it? Well, yes, it works, right? But when you look at it fundamentally, is that selling through video, in my opinion, is a lot more effective than selling through images, especially if you're trying to go after the less aware segments of the market, which are basically those customers that are further away from the awareness that they should buy your product. Those people require more education and require a little bit more of a journey to get to that stage of making that purchasing decision with you, okay? So in order to bring them through that journey using video and having the time and space to be able to hook them in and take them through a journey and educate them and tell them a story, it's a lot more effective and easier to do through video, okay? So that is, I guess, why you should do UGC. Now, again, don't aimlessly produce UGC. You don't just want to be producing random videos because, again, if you don't do that, then your volume might be there, but your quality won't be, right? And the ability to get a higher win rate of creatives is not going to be improving over time, right? Because you're aimlessly producing that UGC. So what you want to do is you want to, first of all, start with research, right? You want to use research and you want to use data from existing creatives to inform what your UGC is going to be. Now, we refer to the structure of the video, the approach of the video as an angle, right? That is the main overarching idea. It could be the problem and the solution that we're talking about. It could be the unique mechanism of the product that we're highlighting. It could be the offer. And we're using that angle to inform our creatives, right? And we are taking that angle and we're using it as the base of our UGC, and then we're writing and building the script around that, okay? So another part of UGC, of course, is the quality of the content creator itself. Now, you can have a great UGC idea, but the execution is 50% of what makes great UGC, right? So what we do is we like to have a good volume and roster of content creators that we can cycle through, because what we found is that sometimes you'll have a great content creator, but then their content just starts dying off for whatever reason. Sometimes you'll have content creators that are working really well, but for whatever reason, they no longer want to produce UGC for you, and you're going to need backups. So if you're in the US or Canada, you should be getting a consistent stream of content creators through backstage.com. Best platform we found for bringing on high quality content creators on a consistent basis that are also pretty cost effective, okay? If you're in the UK or Europe, you want to look at maybe Star Now. That also goes for Australia and New Zealand, but also there's some other platforms that you can look at, and even just the old school searching through Instagram to find content creators for your brand. So in relation to UGC is the next point I want to talk about, which is whitelisting. Now, 2024, well, I guess was also the year of whitelisting, because whitelisting, although it's been around for many, many years, it really took off in 2024, especially with what we saw from our clients and also my people I know, my colleagues in the e-commerce space, in the agency space, is that whitelisting became a lot more mainstream and started working a lot more for a lot more different advertisers. Now, what is whitelisting? Whitelisting is basically when you work with a content creator or publisher, or essentially just a different page that's not your page, and the ads are being served to the end user on Meta through a different page, right? So that the ads are yours, but they're not being served through your page. And you may be thinking like, what's the point of this? Well, when you're doing this with content creators, instead of the ad being served to the end user on Instagram, on Facebook, through Acme company, it's being served through Sarah, right? And what that does is that if it's being served through Sarah and the videos of Sarah, it looks like it's just a normal video from Sarah, right? It doesn't look like an ad. And that's the whole point of why whitelisting works so well, is that we are disguising ads as posts, right? It looks very native, it fits into the platform much better. So that's what it is, and that is also why it works, right? Because it has that native feel. Now, learnings from 2024, you want to qualify your creators first before you jump into whitelisting with them. So what do I mean by this? You want to start working with content creators just on standard UGC, serving that UGC through your own page to begin with, okay? Once you have winning content creators that are outperforming other creators, that are producing strong videos for you, now you want to consider doing whitelisting with them, right? So we've already qualified the creator for whitelisting, because if you don't do this, what can end up happening is that you can end up putting a ton of money into whitelisting that just may never work, right? Because of the creator. So you want to rule that variable out. So with that in mind, you obviously want to get UGC from your creators first and then do whitelisting with them. It's like a step. It's one step and then step two, okay? The other thing is when you do start whitelisting with a content creator, you want to start with a 1 month entry level agreement. And this just means that you can also test it, right? And you're not kind of locked into anything. Ideally, you can get some sort of like trial fee, like creators are very unlikely to give this to you for free, but maybe a discounted rate for the first month or even the first 2 weeks that you can see if it's going to work out for you. And most cases, creators understand that. If you frame it as, hey, we're testing this to see if it works out. If it works out, of course, we can do a month-to-month agreement at the full rate, okay? So you want to do that, and then you want to expand from there. And then you want to create a process of adding new whitelisting creators as you scale your ad spend. So just like you increase your creative volume when you increase your ad spend, you also want to increase the amount of whitelisting you're doing as you're increasing the ad spend. Now, we don't have hard and fast rules for how many whitelisting accounts you should have based on your ad spend, but just as a general rule, if you find that you're increasing your ad spend and you need to do more testing, consider adding more whitelisting and see how that changes your ad performance and the rate at which you can find winning ad creatives. So that is whitelisting. Going on to my last point here about creative styles and things that you should be doing, statics. Statics still have a place, and I believe they will continue to do so in 2025. It allows you to have creative diversity in your account, right? Especially when a potential customer is seeing multiple ads from you. They're seeing the video ads from your page, they're seeing whitelisting ads, they're seeing some static ads. It creates a lot of different approaches and ways that you can communicate with that customer at different times, different messages, right? The way that you will communicate with the customer through an image is very, very different the way that you communicate them with a video, right? So that's why statics still have a place. And the other thing that's good about statics and just images is that it allows you to test new angles, new ideas in a much cost-effective, faster way, right? It's very, very easier, faster, more cost-effective to spin up some static ads versus having to get some content, right? Because you have to send the product to the creator, you have to get it back, you have to pay the creator, like there's a process involved. So you could take the approach of testing new angles, new ideas with statics before you put those angles into UGC, okay? So that's just another framework that you could apply. Now, having these metrics in place, these benchmarks in place for creative volume and output and the different types of creatives that you should be producing is all well and good. But how do you actually do this in practice? Well, there's really two areas that you need. You need the team and you also need the processes. Now, when it comes to the team, we like to structure our team in the following way. So we have separate roles and responsibilities for three different areas. The first one is someone who is responsible for sourcing and onboarding content creators, and they're doing this consistently. This also includes sending agreements to the creators, sending products to the creators, making sure that they receive the product, making sure that they're delivering the video on time, all that stuff. Then you want someone who is responsible for coming up with the ideas for creatives and the scripts for UGC. This role is called a creative strategist, and that is a highly, highly important part, right? Because this person is going to be using the data, the research to come up with the ideas, come up with the iterations, and also they're going to be responsible for briefing the editor on how they want the creative to be edited. Which brings me to my third and final role, which is someone who edits the videos. This is the creative editor, someone who can edit not just videos but also images, right? And those three roles is really what makes up the creative team. Now, you could do all of this yourself if you have the time, right? If you're sole founder, your business is still on the small side, operations, fulfillment, all that stuff is handled, you might want to do this yourself, right? Along with running the ads. Or you might just want to hire out the editing part. You can get a freelance editor and you could just hire that part out. If you don't have a lot of time, you can also hire an agency, right? This is what we do for our clients. It's part of what we do, right? Creative is just one part of the things that we do for e-commerce brands that we work with that allows us to grow that brand and scale them profitably. So different ways you can go about it, right? And that's really the creative team. Now, aside from the team, you of course need something, a system, a process that allows you to keep track of all this creative. Because when we're talking about numbers of volume and produce, like maybe at the beginning, it's going to be easy to track, but trust me, after month 2, month 3, month 4, you're going to produce more and more creative. You're going to need ways that you can organize this creative and keep track of it. So the first thing is you want to be able to organize all of your raw content and all of your edited content in a Google Drive folder or something similar. We like to use Google Drive just for simplicity. We have improved and I guess iterated on our own process by using a platform called air.inc. And what that is, it's like basically it's Google Drive on steroids, right? It allows you to, I think it's also specifically built for this kind of thing where you're categorizing a lot of different files. What it basically allows us to do is it allows us to categorize all of the existing and new raw content that's coming in. We can categorize it by creator. We can tag it by the type of content it is. Maybe it's A-roll, maybe it's B-roll. We can add a description. And the whole reason why we're doing this is because in the future, when we have hundreds, if not thousands of individual clips of content, guess what? It becomes a lot faster, a lot easier to find the clips that we need because we are reusing past content. And this is something you should be doing as well. A little golden nugget is that just because you get content, you test it, it doesn't work, doesn't mean that you should discard that content forever. You want to be able to use that content in the future. And if you don't have a system and a process to organize that content, then trust me, you are never going to consider that content in the future because it's going to be lost, right? You're never going to find that again. So you want to have a clear folder structure in Google Drive. Maybe you want to invest in air.inc. There's a cost associated with that, not just of paying for the platform fee monthly, but also to keep that content organized in there, right? That's either going to be something you need to do or you're going to need to hire that out, right? And again, this is something that we do for our clients. My team does this and it is a game changer, right? It's one of those simple kind of boring things, but it makes a huge difference. The other part of the system and the process, just to keep track of creative, is what we have built for our clients, which is a simple Notion database. What this has is different tabs for each stage of the creative process, from ideation to production to post-production to ready to launch, all that stuff. And within each of those tabs, the creatives themselves are in individual cards, and inside of that card is all the details of the creative, the request for the editor, the script for the content creator, all that stuff, okay? So that is a system and a process we've developed over years of working with clients. It works really well for us. It is very simple. If you want me to send you a template of that Notion database, just leave a comment below this video asking for the template and I'll send that through. So once you have a way to consistently pump out a high volume of quality creative that's being iterated on learnings and data as we spoke about, and you have a clear organized process to keep track of your raw content, to keep track of what creative is being produced, you're in a great place to start improving improving your performance on Meta, but also giving you more room to increase your ad spend. And I can't stress how important it is to have a creative system like this one nailed for your e-commerce brand. It's one of the key areas that we focus on with our clients. As I mentioned, it's a huge part of what makes Meta ads work, right? It's not the only part, but it's a key part. And it's going to become even more important this year in 2025. So rewatch this video, make sure you have some notes down. If you want the Notion template, comment below this video and I'll send that over to you. And yeah, if you want to see more content like this, there's a video linked below this video that you can check out as well, where I talk about the 3 main pillars that we implement with our e-commerce brands to get them to scale, right? Even in markets where the conditions and the headwinds are against you. So with that said, appreciate you watching this video. Hope this was helpful and I will see you in the next one.